We're back in the tackle room again, and today, well, I got a package in the mail, and I can't wait to find out what's inside. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing, and today is a very special episode. See, the good folks over at Easy Casting, well, they make jig skirts, and they reached out to me and asked me if I would like to try some of their products. I said sure. Now, I looked at what they had online, and I have no idea what it is they sent me. Some of the skirts that they had looked really amazing, so I'm interested to see what is in this box. I have not looked at it yet, so this is going to be my first time seeing it, just like you. So let's go ahead and open her up, see what's inside. Well, let's take a look and see what we got in here. Move this camera down, and you can see what I'm seeing. There's the box. Get the camera down just a little bit further. This is the box. A couple of stickers right there. Thank you card. And we obviously have packs of skirt material. Watermelon candy. That's pretty cool looking. Scarlet Glimmer. That's another cool looking one. Ooh, check that out. That's black, blue, purple. It's got all kinds of colors. Tequila Sunrise. And ooh, a hat. Easy Casting hat. That's very nice. Just look at all this skirt material they sent me. Boy, they really hooked me up. Brown orange barbed wire. Hot tiger craw. Boy, they just stacked this bag on up, didn't they? Metallic purple. Now, pumpkin watermelon. That's another great color. And look at this last one. Green pumpkin blue. You guys know I love a little bit of blue in my jig colors. I love that a lot. Raise the camera back up here, back to where it was. So, you know what that means. That means it's time to make some jigs. And considering that I've never gone through the jig making process with you guys before, now is a great time to do that. So I'm going to show you my jig making process, my jig making setup, and how easy it is, and how for, I don't know, $100, $130 or so, you can get into this too. And before you know it, well, you're going to be overwhelmed by how many jigs you'll have from making them all. Having your wife staring at you with her arms folded and her eyes glaring, wanting you to get rid of some of that junk. But either way, let's head outside and let's start making a few jigs. Okay, when it comes to actually having the stuff to make the jigs, there's not really all that much to it. This is going to be your initial investment is going to be on your jig molds themselves, whichever ones that you want. I just use regular do-it style jig molds. They work great. A lead pot, this is just the cheapest one. These run about $50, $60. So an initial investment of about $100, $150 will get your jig mold and a jig pot. I just use old lead weights, old sinkers. That's what works good for me as far as what I'm using for lead. You're going to need some brush guards if you want to have some brush guards, and if you want to have those, you're going to have these little spacers that do the brush guard in place, and obviously you're going to have the hook type that goes with the jig mold that you're using. You can't just use any hook. You've got to have the jig hook that goes with the mold. So and when you're ordering them at like Barlow's, which is where I get a lot of my stuff, you'll usually get a message that tells you this is what hook types work. These are the ones that you need. So that's always very helpful. But that's basically it. Pot, mold, spacers, brush guard, and hooks. Now, after you get your hooks molded, you know, a pair of small wire cutters, some sandpaper, and a file, and we'll go over what that's for here in just a minute. Now when your lead gets hot, it will have impurities in it, and that's what I take this spoon and I scrape out those impurities. And I just put them over here on this brick, and it just usually taps off. You want your lead to be as pure as is possible, you know, the best way you can get it. And it doesn't matter what type of lead that you get. I mean, I've bought and used all types, and it's always got impurities in it. So I just use old sinkers, and that's what works best. It's the cheapest thing. You know, just make sure you get all the impurities that you can out of there, all that little grit. And then when that lead gets super, super hot, that's when we're ready to pour. And it looks like we are almost there now. So let's go ahead. We've got our jig mold charged, ready to go. We've got our hooks in place, we've got our spacers in place, and we're doing the perpendicular line tie ones first, our regular arky jigs. And whenever you go to pour it, you have to be exceptionally careful. And be quick about it. Do not, you know, once you go, you go. Because if you don't, if you hesitate, you will mess it up. So you got to be real quick. Pour it in. Pour it in. Pour it in. All right. I don't know how well those are going to turn out, but we will see. And as you can see, that lead, it actually hardens back pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what we got. Very carefully. That looks like they formed pretty good. There we go, you came right out. And there we go, we got you out. Oops, at least I thought I did. Come on now. There we go. Alright, let's see. That one poured just fine. And that one poured just fine. Now we're going to leave these in here for now. We're not going to take these out because whenever we go to do the weed guard or the brush guard on them, we're going to need as big a hole as possible, and we're going to put the brush guard on them after we color the heads. So now we take the wire clippers, the side dikes, the small side dikes, and that's where we're going to go ahead and trim that off. And I'm going to go ahead and sand that down nice and smooth so we have a good clean edge. And that's all that's for. It just clips real easy. It just clips off real easy. And it's going to be real hard to get them mixed up. You'll know which is which. You can tell which is bigger. And these pieces that we clipped off, they'll just go right back in the lead pot, and we can just remelt those down and use them again. So we're going to go ahead and sand these down smooth, and that's what I have all of this for. This is we're going to go ahead and sand this smooth, but this is, you want to do all of this outside. Remember, this is lead, this is hazardous. You don't want to get this on anything where you will eat, drink, in your kitchen, whatever. So let's go ahead and sand down that little nubbin right there. This is just an old nail file that I use, and it doesn't take too long, you know, and I get it nice and smooth. And when we get that sanded down nice and smooth, we'll go on to the next part, which is coloring them. Okay, we have our jig heads ready here. We're going to go ahead and get them colored. We have our different powders here that we use. This is black. This is black blue flake, which is the one that I like a lot. This one is sprayed grass, another great one. And then this one here is a lighter blue called sapphire blue. Now we're going to go ahead and start with black blue flake. You want to shake it up first. You want to get that powder unsettled and make sure that it's actually pretty loose because of how we have to do this. And we're going to start with the half inch. We're going to start with the half-ounce one. And the way you do this is pretty simple, right? I still have my spacer in there, and we're going to take a lighter. Some guys like to use a heat gun or whatever, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to heat this up. Now we don't want to do a whole bunch because it's better to go easy than it is to go heavy, because if you do it too heavy, it'll just glop up in the oven, because that's what we have to do. Is after this part, we have to put it in the oven for about 10 or 15 minutes on 350 degrees. So And if you have to do more than one coat, you can do more than one coat. That's okay, because it's always better to go light than it is to go heavy. So I've got that dunked in there. That's going to probably have to have more than one coat, but during that time, I'm going to have that spacer in there. Let's go ahead and put this in that 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes or so, and we'll come back and I'll have all of these done, and we're just going to repeat the process and go from there. Okay, so I have all the jig heads finished as far as what we're going to do. All they need now is a skirt. These are the chatterbait, the bladed jig ones that I made. I've got 3 of these, and these are the regular Archie style jigs in different colors. I also made 3 of these. So there's 6 jigs in total that we'll go through putting the skirts on. And making the skirt is not hard. It's a very simple process. It's almost like rigging a wacky rigged worm, right? You've got a tool that puts the ring on it and you just pull it through. So let's go ahead and get that process started. So you have a little ring here. This is just a little ring, and then you've got a little, this is a pencil tool. Sometimes you have different types of tools that you can use, but this is just the easiest one that I can think of. And you just put that ring on there like that, and you pull it down. You push it down, you know, like you would, like you're doing a wacky rig, right? You get it there. And then you take your string material, and for this first one, I always like to double up my strands. I always like to do more than one strand. So we're going to start with this color right here. We're going to do the Tequila Sunrise. So you get this material like this. It comes in these strips. It's got, the ends are closed. We'll have to cut that in a minute. And you see this hook right here? We're just basically going to hang our jig material right on that. And I want to get it as centered as I possibly can, so we get a more even distribution, right? And then what we're going to do is make sure that hook's tucked inside, if we can, and pull up on this part right here, and that pulls that jig in, that pulls that skirt in, and then we just push that O-ring out onto the jig material. I'm going to go ahead and put another strip on here because I always like to do, I'm going to go ahead and put another strip on here because I always like to do multiple layers on my skirts. I like the color it gives it. I like the vibrancy that it gives it. So we are going to take and add this watermelon pumpkin color to it, or what we already have. You can put it in the front, you can put it in the back, but either way, you know, I still like to get them nice and centered. And we're going to do the same thing we did just a second ago. Make sure that hook is inside and pull it up like that. Then we're going to make sure everybody's even, everything's straight, and we're going to pull that washer down, that O-ring down, slide it down into place so that it's on the jig like that. And voila, you know, pop it off, right? Now it's going to be off-centered, and a lot of times that's good. That's exactly what you want. But if it's too off-centered, this is going to be too short. That's going to be long. So you can always just kind of move it down a little bit. It doesn't really take much, you know. I kind of like to have mine a little off-centered, but it doesn't have to be all the way off-centered. So you can just kind of move it down just a little bit, kind of, you know, get it like that. And this is going to be really, really good. Now we just take, and these tabs here that are on the end, right, we're just going to go ahead and cut that clean. All of them, we're going to go ahead and cut those as straight across as we can. Oops. We're going to cut these as straight across as we can, top and bottom, to make sure that our jig skirt material falls apart. And then you make sure you pull everything apart, make sure that it's all, you know, separated the way it should be. And then boom, right? We've got a beautiful little skirt right here. This is perfect. This is going to go on any jig. So what I want to do is this first jig right here. This is this is a 1/2 ounce Archie jig, and it's got a little blue flake in there. And we're going to take this right here, and we're going to thread this skirt up on it. And we're going to take a look and see what we get. Always want to make sure that you have the bottom, the short side on the bottom, so that way when it curls around the top, it will fluff out appropriately. Make sure that everything's straight as you're doing this. And you push it all the way up to this upper ring. The lower part is the bait keeper. And there we are, you know. We'll go ahead and trim it up as need be. The jigs are always going to be, the skirt material on these are always going to be a bit long. You have to trim them down to how you like them. And sometimes I like to leave them a little bit longer. Sometimes I like to leave them a little bit shorter, depends on the presentation that I'm doing, you know, the depth, the color, the things like that. But that feels really good. That looks really good. That skirt material has got a lot of, it's got a lot of feel to it. It's got a lot of texture to it. So that's interesting. That's not, whenever I'm doing other skirts, you know, that's not something I've ever had a feel for. Almost like it's got little beads or something in there. But this guy right here, well, this is the first one we made, right? And it's a pretty good looking little jig right there. That's got an interesting little color. Let's go ahead and put the rest of these together and let's see how they look when we get done with them. There they are. There's the 6 jigs that I made. I've got 3 archy jigs and 3 bladed jigs. Don't those things look amazing? Look at how those skirts turned out. Those skirts turned out really, really good. You get the subtle purples and the blues in there. These, you know, they just turned out where they look really, really nice. Those skirt materials, those were very easy to work with. They were very easy to mix and match. They went on without a problem. I mean, these things are going to catch some giant bass. And I bet those things float really, really nicely in the water. I bet they separate and they just kind of dangle there in the current. I bet they look really good. So we have our jigs made. I did 3 bladed jigs in 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce, and 1/2 ounce. And I did 3 archy style jigs. Again, 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce, and 1/2 ounce. The skirt material was very easy to work with. It has a really awesome feel to it, so I'm anxious to see how that's going to look in the water. However, I won't be fishing with these jigs. One of you guys will. That's right. If you stayed to this part of the video, well, I've got some good news. I'm going to be giving away these 6 jigs to one of you guys. All you've got to do is comment below with the hashtag #SummerJigs. That's right, one word, hashtag #SummerJigs. I'll throw in the hat, and I'll also include one of the stickers. One of these I'm keeping for myself, probably going to put it on the bass buggy. I might even include some of the soft plastic stick baits that I make, just for good measure. So, the 6 jigs, the hat, the sticker, and a couple of packs of soft plastic stick baits that I make. Remember, comment below with hashtag #SummerJigs. If you want to win, you've got to have that in your comment. Otherwise, it won't count. So, I want to thank Easy Casting for sending me this box. That was really awesome of them. Really awesome of them to reach out to my little bitty channel and take an interest. So I'm very excited about that. And as someone who makes way too many jigs, well, I'm sure I'm going to be going crazy with this stuff. Now, I'm going to put a link in the description below for you guys to check out the website, which I encourage you to do. Try getting into jig making on your own, and you will see it is a phenomenal pastime. It's not just a stress reliever, but I guarantee you, well, nobody's going to be throwing anything on the lake like this, so you're definitely going to stand out. So there you have it. Thank you to Easy Casting for sending me that box of goodies. It will definitely be put to good use. I will be spending many hours making brand new jigs, which will give me an edge out on the water because nobody else is going to be fishing the color combinations I can come up with personally. If you want to get into jig making, well, it's pretty easy to do. It costs you about $150 to get every single thing set up and to get you rolling. But after that, well, it's a very minimal investment. It really doesn't cost much. And I'm sure you will be spending hundreds of hours, not just making and inventing new ways to put jigs together, but catching those bigs out on the lake. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.